Coming up, Bahamas Paradise Cruise Lines given the green light on its no-sail response plan. Also, the actions of some police officers coming into question. And the Grand Bahama Port Authority addressed the issue of debris in the city. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Bahamas, I'm Shoshana Rolfe-Farquharson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, the country is preparing to open its borders tomorrow, July 1st. Meantime, a company which is the only provider of regular cruises to Grand Bahama is preparing to sail soon. Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line is the first cruise line to receive a green approval from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention on its no-sail response plan. Natalia Hall explains.
This approval means that Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line, the operators of Bahamas Celebration, has complied with the Center for Disease Control and Prevention's requirements under its no-sail order and is providing a safe environment for crew members to work and disembark. To receive this approval, the Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line met several guidelines. No confirmed cases of COVID-19 for the past 28 days. Crew members must come from a ship that had no confirmed cases of COVID-19 for 28 days. Land-based crew who embarked must have been immediately quarantined for 14 days. Cruise lines must submit signed attestation of commercial travel. According to the Director of Port and Terminal Operations at Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line, Lisa Schilling, navigating the difficult waters of COVID-19 has been a challenge that the cruise industry has faced with grace. And the company is excited to be the first to receive the CDC's approval on their no-sail response plan. The company has already implemented new and improve health and safety guidelines on board and knows that while cruising will look a bit different, they are doing everything possible to ensure a safe, healthy, and memorable vacation experience. Schilling adds that the Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line looks forward to providing guests with quality service as they move into the new normal that lies ahead. Now, the wide range of health and safety measures that were recently implemented include embarkation to disembarkation, keeping guests and crew members safe and healthy. The new protocols include closing 2 passenger stateroom decks to reduce crowds on board, requiring all terminal staff to wear masks and remain behind safety plexiglass to minimize contact with guests, suspension of self-service buffet stations, keeping tables and seating areas 6 feet apart, reducing tour buses for excursions to 50% capacity, mandatory temperature screenings for all guests, and more. It's Talia Hall, ZNS Network News.
In other news, fitness facilities on the island are expected to reopen as of July 1st. As Jay Philippe tells us in this report, additional precautions have been implemented to prevent the spread of the coronavirus.
Gym goers will finally get a chance to return to their workout sports. One of the major fitness facilities on the island is making final preparations for reopening. As of July 1st, GB Fitness will be open for business from 5:30 a.m. to 8 p.m.
When you first come into the gym, you gotta be wearing your mask. When you come to sign in at the desk, you're gonna sanitize, sign in, swipe in. We're gonna take your temperature. And then you proceed inside the gym with your workout. Now you're gonna have to bring 2 towels. You're gonna have to bring one for your face and your hands, and one to put between you and the machine.
Wiley says you can expect some changes at the gym when they reopen.
We will be restricting our numbers. It's just gonna really be a play-by-ear at the time. If people can try and come at like our usual quiet times, especially the people that aren't working, come at a different time of the day. Apart from that, it's going to be just watching that people don't get into big crowds, and there's a whole lot of people gathering. Aerobics will have to be, our aerobic room is really big too, so once everything's spread out, we should be okay and good to go with that.
Fitness trainer Glenn Stubbs says they have spaced out gym equipment and will limit the number of people to be present in fitness classes.
We had the lockdown going on 3-4 months, and a lot of persons in the community has gained some weight. I've seen some clients out there in the community, so just time to get active again, get moving again, get your body programmed again, and it relieves stress, keep you healthy. can give you a luck. We live in Grand Bahama, in this community, the economy. So exercise is one way we can fight against that,
I'm Jay Philippe, ZNS Network News.
In other news, businesses in the Williamstown community were feeling the pinch due to COVID-19 and are now beginning to recuperate as some restrictions have been relaxed. Residents of the area say while he appreciates that economic activity is coming back, safety is still a major concern. Rumiko Knowles has this story.
As the country prepares for the reopening of its borders on July 1st, one man is calling for Bahamians not to be so hasty in letting their guards down. Resident of Williamstown for the past 50 years, Bishop Woodside, says the COVID-19 pandemic is still a threat to neighboring countries, and he's asking young people to exercise caution.
I believe that we still haven't got the message. This pandemic is still with us. And the multiplicity of people I see together. As you know, we have in this area 5 liquor outlets and about 4 conch salad stands. And that's a recipe for our Bahamian. And they congregate and they will have a good time and they'll mingle together and forget that we are in a pandemic. And I am concerned that they are coming together too closely. And something, I hope that nothing happened.
One of the concerns that Bishop Woodside has is the excessive amount of littering as we look along the beachside in Williamstown. Plastic bags, bottles, and empty KFC boxes can be seen lying in the sand. This, he says, must stop.
They come and they drink their alcohol, their beer, and their wine, and throw everything on the beach, left everything on the wall, buy their fast food from the restaurant, and then bring their boxes and bags and cups and stuff, and just leave it unconcerned. And the thing about it, sometimes they are with their children. Parents bring their children, and what the children see the parents do, they would grow up doing that as if there's nothing to it.
The Williamstown area is a popular hangout spot for many, and as clearance for persons wanting to enjoy the sun, sand, and sea has been given, Woodside notes that it may not be safe.
Our parents bring their children out here, as a matter of fact, some just left a while ago. And when I go there, sometimes to baptize folks or to enjoy the water, I have to put on a tennis because I'll get cut. There's a lot of bottles out there. They just leave their bottles on the road, on the wall, and then they throw it over, and the sea comes and wash it out, and it breaks. And as a result of that, it's become a hazard.
He is appealing for persons that frequent the area to appreciate the quaint community and utilize the garbage bins that are along the roadside.
I would advise our own people to appreciate the fact that the environmental health is doing what they can because of the little help that they have. They cannot police the whole things. I need them to police themselves. When they come out to enjoy themselves, take their bottles and whatever they have and put it into the garbage or take it home. When I come out and I see folks who I can discern that they would listen to me, I'll say, when you're through, please throw your stuff in the garbage and be okay.
And while persons may be enjoying themselves, he adds that not everyone takes kindly to his message.
Some folks you just cannot approach. That's the way we are. If you approach them, they get hostile. And they begin to curse and stuff like that. And I don't need that.
He believes the message of safety has gone into one ear and out the other.
We haven't gotten the message yet that this thing is dangerous and it has no age bracket. It takes all of us, okay? And we must be concerned. I call upon my people to show some concern for themselves and others, wear their mask, and take the garbage either back home or into garbage. Because there's garbage bin all along this strip. There's no need to just leave it there.
Rumiko Knowles, ZNS Network News.
Well, it's been some 9 months post-Hurricane Dorian, and tons of debris can still be seen around the island. Tonight, the Grand Bahama Port Authority's city manager is addressing this issue. Jamila Mizik reports.
Debris on the island is still a noticeable issue post-Hurricane Dorian. G.B.P.A. Deputy Director and City Manager Troy McIntosh says normally their service provider, Sanitation Services, is able to provide bulk trash services to 23 subdivisions over a 2-day period. But due to the level of devastation from Hurricane Dorian, coupled with the COVID-19 pandemic, they're still moving a tremendous amount of debris.
For the entire cleanup of Matthew, we moved 5,000 truckloads. To date, with Dorian, we've moved 25,000 loads, which is 5 times, and we're not completed. And so that coupled with COVID, everybody was home, every subdivision, every resident are cleaning at the same time. And so what it did was put a strain on what would have been a weekly service to a point where it's taken 7 weeks to clear, to return to the subdivision. So if I would break that down a little further, with the 23 subdivisions that we're able to service every week, twice a week, every subdivision, it's currently taken us 2 days just to service one subdivision.
He says the psychological burden that may be caused by seeing the debris, as persons are constantly reminded of Hurricane Dorian, is also a concern, but they're doing their best to get the island cleaned up as quickly as possible.
What persons are doing as well is they're putting out excessively large loads at one time. And so if a truck goes into that area and they have to focus on that one resident to move that load, I give an example. One truck for one load we saw will take about 8 trucks to carry all the loads to the landfill. One trip from Mayfield Park to the landfill is 25 minutes per truck. So you could see very easily, we could spend half a day at that one location moving that debris, which means the remainder of the subdivision will not get serviced that day. And so we're saying to residents, only put out what you normally would put out on a regular schedule, okay? And that would afford us to service the entire subdivision.
McIntosh says they would like for residents to partner with them to assist so they can get back to the weekly schedule.
We're asking residents, once we visit your subdivision and remove the debris, any additional cleaning that comes thereafter for your bulk trash, your furniture, your stove, your appliances, your vegetation debris, you can take that to the landfill, Pine Ridge landfill, at no cost. And so what this will do is when we get into big areas like East Section, which has 5 subdivisions, we will be able to get out there a lot quicker.
Jamila Mizik, SATNS Network News.
Switching gears now, the actions of police officers coming into question after one young man says he was verbally assaulted during a routine traffic stop. Tonight, he says more must be done to ensure that officers are not abusing their authority, and if they are, they must face consequences. Creighton Moxie, a young entrepreneur, says he's tired of hearing stories about the misconduct of local police officers. But an incident he had recently proves that more must be done to ensure that officers are not abusing their authority.
I pull up to the roadblock. I notice that the officer begins to look at my vehicle. He begins to scan it. Now, just to put it out there, I'm driving a bonded vehicle. It's fully insured, licensed, all that. No tints on the front windows. The officer then begins to analyze the vehicle, and as he analyzes it, he asks me questions like, where do you work? Where is your business located? What type of work do you do? Do you own this vehicle? Is this vehicle registered to you? Are you on insurance?
And that led him to asking some questions of his own.
Why would you come to me and tell me that you feel that my vehicle is stolen? Was it reported stolen? Why do you think my vehicle is stolen? So then I begin to ask him a series of questions. A second officer then comes over because I'm asking questions, and he gets angry at me for asking questions, which, as a citizen of the Bahamas, I feel like I have the right to do that. So this officer then begins to say, do you want me to yuck your little behind? I'm using a nice word because we're on camera. Yuck your little behind out of this vehicle. I'm confused because I'm trying to figure out, we're having a normal conversation. Why are you then taking this to violence? So then at that point, I'm like, what is this all about? So then I'm still parked on the side of the road. The first officer tells me I can go right. Still on the side of the road. The second officer then runs back to the vehicle and he says, okay, since you want to be smart, you're driving without a seatbelt. Now bear in mind, when I pulled up to the first officer, I had my seatbelt on. I took my seatbelt off to give him my ID. When I took my seatbelt off to give him my ID, I was still on the side of the road. The second officer, who was not there to see me take my seatbelt off, comes and says, give him a ticket for being smart.
Moxie says the other two officers gave him the ticket, but notes that they were very professional. But his fear is that there may be many more law-abiding citizens who have been faced with the same type of abuse or even worse.
How is it? I have, for example, I have family in 8 Mile Rock. I know people in 8 Mile Rock. They have businesses, legal businesses, car washes, stuff like that. They are getting harassed by the police, but the police are not out there looking for the criminals to harass them. They're trying to do something positive in the community, and that's really my problem, what I have with it. I came back home to make a change in my community, right? I'm trying to be positive, trying to do a change, doing various things in the community to help out, and you're targeting me. You're looking at me as a young black male driving in my vehicle and saying, why do you have this vehicle? And at this point, the statement I'm making now isn't about me. It's about all the people I know who don't have a voice to get justice for themselves or the resources.
But this young entrepreneur says something must be done, as he pointed to a situation that happened in Port Lacaya 2 weeks ago, where a young man could be seen being assaulted by a plainclothes officer.
Very uncalled for. We had a situation where people were having an altercation. A plainclothes officer walks up to someone who's not even arguing with him and slaps him. Now, if you watch the video, you can see that this officer, like a lot of officers, probably felt he was untouchable. This dude slapped him and didn't even look at him. He didn't even look at him. He had no type of fear to think this person is going to react. And I think that's the problem we have. When that officer threatened me, he never thought I would be like, do it then. He didn't think I would stand up for myself. And that's the problem. We have a lot of people abusing their power and feeling untouchable.
This is why he says it was important for him to file a complaint.
The process was very great. Superintendent Lloyd dealt with me, and he never made me once feel that, uncomfortable making my statement. I felt that he was listening to me thoroughly, and the ordeal is being handled. I told that I would be receiving a call back. I haven't received it yet, but I expect to receive it soon.
Now, police are refuting these claims. According to a senior officer who was on the scene, he says Moxie, like other motorists, were stopped during that road check, but the situation escalated as Moxie appeared frustrated, as he said he was running late for an appointment. Now, the officer says Moxie was adamant that police didn't have the authority to stop him. Police say there was no way for officers to know who was behind the wheel of Moxie's vehicle, and that it was a simple routine check as police work to maintain law and order on the streets. Police say Moxie was ticketed for not wearing a seatbelt, but he was not asked to come out of the vehicle, and the vehicle was not searched. Now, as for the Port Lacaya matter, it is understood that that is currently under active investigation. Meantime, road traffic police say their road checks have uncovered what appears to be a disturbing trend. Italia Hall picks up that story.
You may have noticed in recent weeks that police officers have been out in full force throughout the streets of Grand Bahama conducting road checks. While officer in charge of the traffic division, Superintendent Jeremy Henfield, says during those road checks, officers have noticed that some motorists are using fraudulent license discs.
We've had a report from the road traffic department who have been working with us to see that we can try to fix this vexing problem. One of the biggest problem, again, like I say, is, and I want to appeal really to the motoring public, is when you take the time to pay someone to license your car, knowing that they obtained it in some way that is fraudulent, then we want you to know that that is a crime.
He says the police department understands that under their emergency orders, motorists have been given an extension on the licensing of their vehicles.
We, the police, will not ticket those persons for that. However, we want you to be reminded that we're asking that you do insure your vehicles. In the case, if you have any unforeseen or, God forbid, any problems that happen, then you would have some coverage to that extent. But again, the road traffic department we know have been closed for a while. And so that would have led to some things. The road traffic department is now back open for, I think, half a day, a period of time. And so it creates, long lines and some other little problems. But we want to say to persons that when you take your money, because you're not getting anything free. When you take your money and you pay somebody to go and license your car for you, you knowing very well that that person doesn't wait to the road traffic department, and you put that sticker what at this on your car, then we will definitely prosecute you.
And as for the way forward, Henfield says the road checks will continue.
Within the last 2 months, we have prosecuted some 8 persons for fraudulent use. And so that's a lot within the last 2 months. And so if persons want to pay hefty fines, because it will be a hefty fine for fraudulent use, if you want to go ahead and you want to pay those fines, then definitely, like I said, the police will target you. We know who the players are. We know who the players are. It's just a matter of time before we get you.
It's Talia Hall, ZNS Network News.
On news from the police, the Central Division needs your help tonight in locating a suspect wanted for shop breaking and stealing. 21-year-old Trayvon Edward Moss of Planton Road. He is 5 feet 10 inches tall, 140 pounds, dark brown complexion, thin built, brown eyes. If you know his whereabouts, contact 352-1919, 352-3106-9, 911-919, or your nearest police station.
Greetings, Bahamas. I'm Minister Margaret Mullings with a word of encouragement. Behind me is, as you can see, it's a mango tree. But I want to tell you a word about this mango tree. It has weathered many storms, and it has been there for many, many years. But recently, the storm rooted it up. And the tree, not the storm Dorian, but the storm before Dorian, and it actually fell down. The tree is so large, it filled up the backyard. And my husband and I, we looked at it, and I looked at that tree and I said, there's no hope for the tree. It's gone, And so what we did, we cut off the branches, and we getting ready to, chop it up and everything. But there was something that caused us not to do that. Its leaves remained green. And when we had a closer look, its roots were still intact, even though it was out of the ground. What am I saying? I am saying to you as a form of encouragement today, no matter what you face or whatever you're going through, keep hope alive. That tree right there behind me was placed back with it intact with its roots. And as you can see, it's green. And it actually gave fruit again. But this year it didn't do anything. I'm saying many times it may look like everything is gone. You may have lost everything. But I only stopped by to let you know, to remind you, keep hope alive. God will help you. He will uphold you with the right hand of his righteousness. In Isaiah chapter 41 and 10, he says, I will help you. So when
Coming up, Bahamas Paradise Cruise Lines giving the green light on its no-sail response plan. Also, the actions of some police officers coming into question. And the Grand Bahama Port Authority addressed the issue of debris in the city. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Shoshana Rowe-Farquharson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, the country is preparing to open its borders tomorrow, July 1st. Meantime, a company which is the only provider of regular cruises to Grand Bahama is preparing to sail soon. Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line is the first cruise line to receive a green approval from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention on its no-sail response plan. Talia Hall explains.
This approval means that Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line, the operators of Bahamas Celebration, has complied with the Center for Disease Control and Prevention's requirements under its no-sail order and is providing a safe environment for crew members to work and disembark. To receive this approval, the Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line met several guidelines. No confirmed cases of COVID-19 for the past 28 days. Crew members must come from a ship that had no confirmed cases of COVID-19 for 28 days. Land-based crew who embarked must have been immediately quarantined for 14 days. Cruise lines must submit signed attestation of commercial travel. According to the Director of Port and Terminal Operations at Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line, Lisa Schilling, navigating the difficult waters of COVID-19 has been a challenge that the cruise industry has faced with grace, and the company is excited to be the first to receive the CDC's approval on their no-sail response plan. The company has already implemented new and improve health and safety guidelines on board and knows that while cruising will look a bit different, they are doing everything possible to ensure a safe, healthy, and memorable vacation experience. Schilling adds that the Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line looks forward to providing guests with quality service as they move into the new normal that lies ahead. Now, the wide range of health and safety measures that were recently implemented include embarkation to disembarkation, keeping guests and crew members safe and healthy. The new protocols include closing 2 passenger stateroom decks to reduce crowds on board, requiring all terminal staff to wear masks and remain behind safety plexiglass to minimize contact with guests, suspension of self-service buffet stations, keeping tables and seating areas 6 feet apart, reducing tour buses for excursions to 50% capacity, mandatory temperature screenings for all guests, and more.
Your #1 news team covering the North. The Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Welcome back. Casuarina trees, they have been a part of the Bahamian landscape forever and can be found on our beaches. But the government has taken the decision to remove the trees from coastal areas in New Providence as they are considered an invasive species. Well, we spoke with a local environmentalist who supports this decision. Megan Shepard reports.
There are 2 invasive species of the casuarina plant that are currently plaguing the majority of islands in the Bahamas. This according to Earth Care founder Gail Woon. Woon notes that the government of the Bahamas has developed a national invasive species strategy, which is currently working to destroy the trees at a local beach in the capital. She explains why this is necessary.
They're very aggressive. Wherever they become established, they will force out all of the native vegetation, and where that happens, it's really bad. It's usually on a coastal area, and they have a horizontal lateral root system. So during storms, when the big waves come through, the casuarinas will be the first to topple over, and then the waves will come in and cause beach erosion. So wherever you have large stands of casuarina, if there's a storm surge, the storm surge will be allowed to come further inland than normal.
She says their needles also pose major issues.
Their needles have an allelopathic compound in them, which it inhibits the growth of any other vegetation. So where they have their needles all around underneath, you'll notice nothing ever grows there. You don't see any little things sprouting up. In addition, those needles, if a cow eats them, they can die. They're also a bit carcinogenic.
She adds that the plant is a problem globally and nationally.
We have casuarinas, invasive casuarina on, I think, almost every island except for 4. So it's especially a problem with coastal erosion in Andros, Grand Bahama, New Providence, and Eleuthera, where the stands are fairly well established on the coastal areas.
Now, Woon says that thankfully, the Bahamas National Trust is also doing its part to assist where it can.
The Bahamas National Trust has implemented an aggressive removal program for all of their parks on all of the islands. They're removing casuarina, Brazilian pepper, scavola, and melaleuca. And those are all very negative invasive species that cause problems to your natural habitat. So thankfully that's happening. It would be good on Grand Bahama if we could do some removal of casuarinas on the non-park areas. But we have so many other problems right now that's not really high on anyone's priority list.
Woon adds that one plant can produce thousands of seeds that are salt water resistant, which is why this plant can travel throughout the family of islands. Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment.
Your #1 news team covering the North. The Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
And the team here would like to say a special hello to Melanie Roll, our Facebook friend of the day. We hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And a special happy birthday to Pearlie and Forbes. We hope that you have a wonderful birthday. And that is going to do it for us here in the North. On behalf of our entire ZNS News team, I'm Shoshana Roll-Farkas, and the Bahamas Tonight continues.